Welcome to this video on Artsakh, legal history, treaties, and the collapse of the First Armenian Republic from 1918 to 1921. We will be providing a legal and historical analysis of sovereignty and illegality. This video is part of the Artsakh Cases initiative by the World Affairs Council of Austin. Our aim is to shed light on the legal aspects and encourage support for Artsakh. This analysis is titled Artsakh, Legal History, Treaties, and the Collapse of the First Armenian Republic, 1918 to 1921, with the subtitle, A Legal and Historical Analysis of Sovereignty and Illegality. Our learning objectives include understanding Artsakh's legal status under treaties, examining British intervention, and analyzing the role of non-state actors in treaty invalidation. We will also trace the illegal actions leading to Artsakh's placement in the Azerbaijan SSR and evaluate modern implications for sovereignty claims. Artsakh matters today because the Armenian presence is ancient and continuous. Claims for self-determination are ongoing, Soviet-era borders are disputed, and modern claims have relevance to the International Court of Justice. This 1920 map shows Armenia and Artsakh within Anatolia. It highlights Artsakh's key geographical position, the historical borders of Wilsonian Armenia, and provides a geographical reference for our legal analysis. Artsakh's roots trace back to ancient Armenian settlements. The continuous Armenian habitation defines the region's historical identity, and its heritage is deeply Armenian, documented as ancient and continuous. The First Republic of Armenia claimed Artsakh from 1918 to 1920, but it was not formally included in the Republic. This ambiguous legal status complicated the territory's sovereignty during this critical period. The First Armenian Republic claimed Artsakh, but the territory was not formally included. This led to an unclear legal status and complicated the sovereignty of Artsakh between 1918 and 1920. The Treaty of Batum, signed on June 4, 1918, significantly reduced Armenian territory. The First Republic of Armenia soon collapsed in December 1920, leading to Soviet annexation of the territory. The Treaty of Batum was signed on June 4, 1918, between the Ottomans and Armenia. Its severe provisions drastically reduced Armenian territory and contributed to the eventual collapse of the First Republic. The Treaty of Batum was immediately void due to illegitimacy. It was signed under extreme duress and coercion from the Ottoman military. International law recognizes that such treaties are not legally binding, creating serious, long-term border consequences. The collapse of the Ottoman and Russian empires created a power vacuum in the Caucasus. This era saw the rise of new independent republics, marking a period of significant political upheaval. Key Caucasus treaties included the Treaty of Sèvres, outlining a greater independent Armenia, and treaties that subsequently reduced Armenia's territorial claims. The Treaty of Moscow defined Soviet borders, and the Treaty of Kars established modern boundaries. The Ninth Army's actions were a direct challenge to Allied authority. Their resistance to the Allied occupation of the Ottoman Empire invalidated British governance and defied post-World War I treaty obligations. British authorities governed Artsakh's territory post-World War I. Their intervention was based on post-Ottoman governance, but non-state military actors invalidated their rule. Artsakh's placement in the Azerbaijan SSR followed the British withdrawal. British governance over Artsakh was subsequently invalidated. Non-state military actors defied post-World War I treaty obligations. The British withdrawal created a power vacuum, and Artsakh was then placed in the Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic. Artsakh's territory was placed in the Azerbaijan SSR following the invalidation of British governance. The British withdrawal created a power vacuum, and this placement occurred after the collapse of the First Republic. The Soviet annexation followed the collapse of the First Republic and occurred after a power vacuum in the region. Soviet actions were taken during a chaotic period in the Caucasus, and these illegal actions ultimately led to Artsakh's placement in the Azerbaijan SSR. The Soviet annexation created an enduring legal conflict. Artsakh's history continues to fuel modern sovereignty claims, and Soviet-era borders remain highly disputed under international law. Modern claims related to Artsakh have high International Court of Justice relevance. The Soviet annexation of Artsakh created an enduring legal conflict. Artsakh's historical identity fuels modern sovereignty claims. Soviet-era borders are highly disputed, and the region's history has high relevance for modern international courts. Modern claims related to Artsakh have high ICJ relevance. Soviet-era borders remain highly disputed under international law. Artsakh's history continues to fuel modern sovereignty claims, and the Soviet annexation created an enduring legal conflict. The core question remains: who had the legal authority to assign Artsakh between 1920 and 1921? This ambiguity is central to understanding the region's current legal status. The Treaty of Sèvres, signed on August 10, 1920 by the legal Ottoman government, formally recognized the Republic of Armenia. It outlined a greater independent Armenia. The Wilsonian Arbitration Award was an independent decision that outlined the final borders of Wilsonian Armenia. President Wilson signed this final boundary award, which formally recognized the Republic of Armenia. The Treaty of Sèvres is important as the only treaty signed by a recognized Ottoman authority and the only one involving Allied powers in U.S. arbitration. It establishes Armenia's legal borders. British forces formally shut down the Ottoman Parliament during the Allied occupation of Istanbul. This occurred 6 months before the Treaty of Sèvres, significantly impacting the legal authority of the Ottomans. The British undermined the Ottoman government's legal authority by shutting down the Ottoman Parliament 6 months before the Treaty of Sèvres. Non-state military actors subsequently invalidated British governance over the region. British actions undermined the Treaty of Sèvres and weakened the Ottoman government's authority. Britain did not honor their treaty obligations, which allowed the First Armenian Republic to collapse. The Turkish national movement rejected the Treaty of Sèvres, which became effectively nullified and was never ratified. British actions undermined the treaty, and the Turkish War of Independence secured new borders for Turkey. The Treaty of Sèvres was never formally ratified due to the British government. The Turkish national movement successfully rejected it, securing new borders for Turkey through the War of Independence. British actions undermined the treaty and weakened the Ottomans. The Turkish national movement rejected the Treaty of Sèvres. New borders for Turkey were secured by the Turkish War of Independence and established by the Treaty of Kars. The Treaty of Sèvres was never ratified. The Treaty of Moscow was signed between Russia and the Grand National Army of Turkey. The Treaty of Kars established modern boundaries in the Caucasus, forced on Armenia by the Grand National Army. These treaties significantly reduced Armenia's territorial claims. The Treaty of Sèvres established Armenia's only legal borders. The new borders were later secured by the Turkish War of Independence. The treaties of Moscow and Kars significantly reduced Armenia's territory and are illegal because they were between non-state actors. The Treaty of Sèvres established Armenia's only legal borders, as it was signed by a recognized Ottoman authority. The Wilsonian Arbitration Award outlined the final borders. Later treaties were illegal and reduced Armenia's territory. The Treaty of Sèvres established Armenia's only legal borders. Later illegal treaties reduced Armenia's legitimate territory and claims. The Soviet annexation created an unresolved legal conflict over Artsakh, which still has modern sovereignty implications. The Soviet annexation created an enduring, unresolved legal conflict. Artsakh's history fuels modern sovereignty claims in courts, and Soviet-era borders remain highly disputed under international law. These claims have high ICJ relevance. Artsakh's only legal borders were established by the Treaty of Sèvres. Subsequent illegal treaties reduced Armenia's territory. The Soviet annexation led to an unresolved legal conflict, and modern sovereignty claims related to Artsakh have high ICJ relevance. The Soviet annexation created an enduring, unresolved legal conflict. Artsakh's history fuels modern sovereignty claims in international courts, and Soviet-era borders remain highly disputed under international law. These modern claims have high ICJ relevance. All claims against Artsakh resulted from the Grand National Army, which was led by Mustafa Kemal against the Ottoman government. This movement was an unrecognized, non-state rebel force and was not internationally legitimate. The Grand National Army, led by Mustafa Kemal, was an unrecognized, non-state rebel force. It was not internationally legitimate, and all claims against Artsakh stemmed from this group, challenging the Ottoman government. The Grand National Army was an unrecognized, non-state rebel force led by Mustafa Kemal against the Ottoman government. It was not internationally legitimate, and all claims against Artsakh resulted from this army. In 1920, the Grand National Army illegally invaded the Republic of Armenia. Armenia, already devastated by genocide, was militarily overwhelmed and received no Allied support during this invasion. The Grand National Army was an unrecognized, non-state rebel force and therefore not internationally legitimate or legally recognized. It was led by Mustafa Kemal, and all claims against Artsakh originated from this illegitimate force. The Grand National Army was an unrecognized, non-state, rebel force. Because it was not internationally legitimate, any treaty it forced the Republic of Armenia to sign would also be illegal, invalidating all subsequent claims against Artsakh.